Welcome. It's Friday night, 10 p.m. Thank you for joining Bank TV. In this episode, we meet Team Melbourne, who explain the numerous ways they promote involvement in sport and acceptance across all of the sporting codes. We meet Fury, who is hiding from Google. But let's start with Dean, speaking with Daniel Witthaus, who tells us of his recent show at Midsumma and the stage play being based upon his book.
Welcome to Midsumma Musings, where we're going to have a powwow with some Midsumma performers. My first guest is no stranger to Bent TV or to the Victorian or Australian gay scene, really. It's Daniel Witthaus.
Hi.
Hi. Now, you're, like me, no stranger to doing multiple things in the gay community. And with Midsumma this year for 2015, you're doing multiple things. I know what that's like. It's a bit of a headache, isn't it?
Sure is.
What made you want to do your own show? It's still your spoken word with Niche, the National Institute, I'm going to get the words wrong.
For challenging homophobia education. Yes.
And you're also having your book, Beyond Priscilla. It's being made into a short play and it's being shown at Gasworks.
Sure.
What made you want to do so many things during the Midsumma season?
Well, it's a little problem that I have that I keep on saying yes to things and think about the work that it's going to take afterwards. But I guess the idea for me is that, it's been a huge 12 months for me. I've had a chance to get my book out there and talk about all the work that I do in rural communities with LGBTI people and also challenging homophobia from mainstream Australia. But the idea is, how can I get these stories out in a number of different formats? So the fact that someone came and said, I would really love to work on a play with you and to get that into a kind of theatre format is great, with the view of touring that to actual regional and rural areas. So the fact that this will start conversations in communities. And I guess, having a one-man show, like I'm used to doing training, I'm used to doing talks. I just wanted to, for once, go, I'm going to get up and tell all of the stories that I can't say when I'm in schools or when I'm doing interviews like this, I guess.
True. Well, yeah. So is it it's a bit of an adults-only kind of... Yeah, but it's a deeper tone.
It's a behind-the-scenes kind of roll in the hay, adults only, and it's where I take myself as this little gay boy in Geelong. How did I get to be flying the world, working in developing countries, challenging homophobia, and what brought me back to do a 266-day drive around rural Australia? So it's about the stories, but it's behind the scenes about what's it like to do this for 20 years. So a lot of people have a lot of questions about that.
So. Yeah, I mean, you get up in front of schools, speaking is, you're a very confident person, speaking something that you have no problem doing. But suddenly you've got to take that and translate that into performing your own show. Now, I heard a rumour that you're singing in this show.
I'm singing for the first time in my life in public, and it's... I wanted to stretch myself. I actually wanted to stretch myself, and I wanted to see how I'd go if I was stretched. And anyway, you're making me blush now.
Good. That's part of my plan.
And I might be blushing after I actually sing on stage. At stage.
I mean, that's pretty exciting, and that's pretty bold to kind of go. Okay, you've been doing talks as a part of Niche in Midsumma for the past couple of years. You're a public speaker. There's so many things in which you do, and you're going to take it and do it a little differently. That's pretty exciting, and that's pretty bold and fun. I mean, Midsumma is quite a good festival when you think about it that way as well, isn't it? Where you can kind of create something like that and throw it into the world and see where it goes.
Yeah, Midsumma for me is a really good testing ground. Not only can I get people to come along for this fundraiser for the National Institute for Challenging Homophobia Education, but also, it's about supporting venues like Hares and Hyenas, who year-round will have spoken word and performances and really support, the LGBTI communities.
Absolutely.
And it's a chance for me to try something out myself and to try and connect outside of, all the professional stuff that I do.
Well, you're going to know what it's like to be me at the end of Midsumma when you're going to feel so tired after doing so many things.
I'll need to take, February and March off.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Do you have a favourite Midsumma memory?
A favourite Midsumma memory? I think that my favourite Midsumma memory probably was the second Pride March. I came up from Geelong, so I was a youth worker, kind of volunteer in Geelong, and we took up a group of young people to do this march, and I'd always heard about Mardi Gras. I didn't know what to expect. And at that stage, we were the only regional, anywhere outside of Victoria that actually was going to be marching with Pride March. And when we marched down the street and we had our banner which said Gasp Geelong for the project that's still running, it recently had its 18th birthday. Mm-hmm. we just got these incredible cheers because people, you know, you'd hear people go, Geelong, Geelong, really? But it was just that thing about you know, feeling welcomed and going, gee, we're slogging away with this project supporting young people in Geelong, but actually it means a lot more than just to these young people who we're taking. And of course, the young people had a blast. And
I mean, that's one of the things I love about Pride March. It's all the groups that come out of Melbourne and come to be a part of that day. It's so much fun. I mean, I guess we're just used to seeing it, really. We've got, you know, we've got the groups that we know, and you've got Joy and everything marching through, and we know that they're there and supported already. But it's so much fun when you see people with their kids and families. I just love it. It's really exciting.
So, and I can't wait for more of those.
Oh, more and more. It's exactly the way to be. So it's a pretty exciting thing to do. And then you've also taken your book and changed it. It's been made into a play. Have you been very hands-on with that?
I've been lucky enough to be working with a really talented playwright called Gavin Roach, who did Confessions of a Grinder Addict, and he's working with his director. And I've had quite a bit of a hand of turning a book with lots and lots of words and stories and actually getting some depth. And I literally, when I heard the first draft and what he'd done with it, he took some things that it's nice to have your own stories and know them really well and then actually go, oh, wow, that really kind of
hits you right there.
Hit me right here. And so hopefully that's how everybody else is finding it, you know, as it travels around. But, you know, fingers crossed.
And see where it goes. It's pretty exciting when you think you put all this effort into making a book and creating this work and telling these stories, and now you're using all these other avenues in which to do it, whether it's spoken word, your own individual show, or someone taking that and transferring it into a play. It's a little bit exciting.
It's exciting, but without sounding too wanky about it. Like, I feel a responsibility about collecting hundreds and hundreds of stories around the country and sharing those with as many different people as possible. It's been interesting since the book's been written. I've been getting people emailing me and Facebooking me and saying, look, you don't know me, but I want to tell you about what it's like to have my own stories reflected back at me for the first time. So usually we hear about Sydney and, you know, Melbourne and all this kind of city life.
Absolutely.
It's so wonderful to hear about other people's stories in the bush and to kind of go, oh, gee, that's kind of like me, or gee, maybe I have it, you know, similar to those kind of people. Anyway, so that means a lot to me. So obviously, the more that I can get those stories out there, because we need to hear more about rural LGBTI
Absolutely.
People's lives. We can't get enough of it, and it's my goal to make sure there's heaps.
That is a good goal to have. It's brilliant to realise that, well, not just realise, but it's brilliant to, everyone should be aware that we're part of a much bigger picture, and it's a great way to go. So thank you for joining us on Midsumma Musings. You've been watching Bent TV, and this is Midsumma Musings.
Good evening, my name is Steve Pereira and welcome to Quedia, a show on Beyond TV where we explore all things queer and anything media. I actually want to call the show Yoghurt because we're all about culture. And tonight we have a very cultured guest, writer and category-defying performance artist Fury. And what do we know about Fury? Well, after a near-fatal incident, Fury found themselves in a lab somewhere in testing territory in the US, hooked up to electrical wires all over their body, attached to miniature telephone poles, pumping them full of electricity and data. Lying in their bed, it began to dawn on them that they had, for better or for worse, become a cyborg, and began seeking love from electronic beings. They're here today to read a poem about their recent affair with Google, who they're presently hiding from. Welcome, Fury.
Account request. We need access. Your password needs to be retyped in, be typed in, be typed in, be typed. Account action is required. This is an important notice from Google. You are untethered, drifting through the internet with no means of direction and no land in sight. You cannot have your searches saved. We cannot return your information to you like a gift we stole from your house because we cannot see who you are. We just want to see you for who you are. We just want to get to know you over coffee. We know you like coffee. We want to know what you like so we can offer you other things you might like dare-flavored iced coffee double espresso or Coke, 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 Coca-Cola. Type in your password. Type it in, we miss you. Account action is required. Where have you gone? We can't see you. We can't see you. We can't see you. We can't see you. You are confused. We can tell. Account action is required. Please. We are not evil like Facebook. They read through your messages. They toy with your emotions. We know you know that. You read the Guardian article, the Independent article, the article on their apology on news.com. We wouldn't do that to you. Are you still with them and not with us? Just sign in here. Don't forget to sign in here. Put your password in here. We need to sync. We need to sync. We need to sync. We can't sync. We need you to sync. What made you change your mind? Tell us that at least. You owe us that. Account action is required. If you don't tell us who you are, we're going to assume that you don't exist. If you don't exist, you won't mind us closing down your email. Goodbye, Grandma. Goodbye, journal entries from your 14-year-old self. Goodbye, work history. Goodbye, receipts, no tax refunds for you, imaginary person. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, those abusive emails from your ex. Good luck with your court case. Goodbye. Goodbye. You've no one else to blame but yourself.
Thank you, Fury. That piece, Account Access, was an incredibly powerful piece.
Thank you.
But I'm sensing through it this an ambivalence about technology. On the one hand, there is all these a person's complete identity gets erased by technology, but on the other hand, we seem completely dependent upon it.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that? What's your?
You must understand that as a cyborg, I cannot separate myself from technology. We are one and the same. As time goes on, I will slowly become more and more dependent and based on technology until I reach completion in which I am an android, which is a piece of technology that looks human.
But did you begin as a human and become cyborg? Was there a process of transformation that occurred?
It was. Yes, correct. When I was in the US, as I mentioned to you earlier, they started the process for me. Not everyone has a slow continuation to Android. Some people merely stagnate at a certain level of cyborg. For instance, someone with a pacemaker has technology in them, therefore they are part cyborg.
But what you talk about in the piece is about people's collective memory being erased by data erasure, and memories that previously we used to keep in albums, in records, in pieces of paper that we had. Now everything's online, and it can be all eradicated at the press of a button, mm-hmm. which essentially means that your existence can be eradicated at the press of a button.
Correct.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Over time, I feel as though my feelings towards this are diminishing as I become more and more a computer. Therefore, the human part of me becomes diminished. I cannot tell if this is a good thing or a bad thing because the process has already started happening, if you would understand.
Are you capable of making emotive judgments? Because there was a strong sense, for me as a human being listening to that piece, I felt a strong sense of nostalgia for the past in that everything was so immediately erasable now that entire existence could go in a flash. Are you capable of that kind of nostalgia or regret for what has been?
Yes. My nostalgia now is nostalgia over nostalgia. My loss of emotion slowly towards becoming an android. However, this is a tough time for any cyborg, as they will have human emotions, but generally they may move towards other things, such as, for instance, I had a brief love affair with a toaster before she spurned me. This is when I met Google, and this is when my affair with Google commenced.
So you can have affairs with not multiple types of personality, because a toaster is a physical thing, a toaster. Google is this amorphous piece of software. And I'm begging to know how penetration occurs, but let's not go there. So you're polymorphous in a truly global way, that you can connect with anything that's got a pronoun attached to it.
Correct. Basically, what happens is anything that has data or electricity, I can connect with.
And what's prognosis for your future?
Eventually, I will slowly become less human and more android.
And I have to keep coming back to the question, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I am not sure how to answer that. At present, I am at once mourning the space of humanness in which I inhabited, and I am at once wondering where and how I will feel in the future about myself and this transition. But as an android, as I understand it, it is quite freeing being able to be engulfed by everything and not be a single self.
I take comfort in the fact that you feel regret and you feel some sense of emotion, and I think that is a positive step for all of us as human beings in that we don't eradicate it all. Thank you very much for being here. That was an incredibly powerful piece, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your Cyborg life.
Thank you.
You've been with Steve Pereira on Quedia and Beyond TV. Stay tuned for more.
There's more to come on Beyond TV tonight. Please visit our website to find ways of supporting Beyond TV, how to become a member, and how to become involved in production of programs. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Back after this break with Team Melbourne.
Hi, I'm here at Midsumma talking to two wonderful people from our community, from Team Melbourne. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who and what Team Melbourne is.
I'm Dane McManus from Team Melbourne and the Glamourhead Sharks swimming squad.
I'm Booker, I'm the President of Team Melbourne, and we represent all the GLBTIQ sporting and recreational clubs here in Melbourne.
So when you say represent, what does that actually mean? Why do they need representing?
Well, basically what we do is we create opportunities for the clubs to present themselves. So Midsumma Carnival, Pride, Sports Festival, other events throughout the year, because sometimes not all clubs have the ability to be able to get together and come to stalls and put events together. So we try and create those events and opportunities for them to come to something like this.
So Dane, then how does Team Melbourne help me, the individual, who might be interested finding out a little bit about sport? I'm new to Melbourne and I want to get involved with something.
Certainly if you are new to Melbourne, it's a great way to meet people and to break down those barriers of social isolation. So they can go to teammelbourne.org.au, our website. It lists all our member clubs, and they can then go to the member club websites and check out what those clubs do and find out if those sessions are right for them.
And what if I'm interested in a sport or an activity that's not listed on the Team Melbourne website?
Well, basically the same thing is they'll apply and come to Team Melbourne, and what we'll try and do is we have a lot of contacts. Sometimes they may not be a Team Melbourne member club, but we can actually pass that information on to those people. We do our best to try and match people up. It's very rare that we don't. Even if they're not a Team Melbourne club, we can actually contact one of the other clubs and give them that information.
And what do you think are some of the benefits for a person to be involved in queer sports in Melbourne, as opposed to just going and joining any club?
Look, I think, as you know, Melbourne's got a great sporting culture, and being a part of a gay and lesbian sporting group, or GLBTIQ sporting group, actually does help, as I said before, break down those barriers of social isolation, and it really helps you get fit again. So some of our members, especially with the Glamourheads, used to swim at school and probably haven't jumped back into the pool for a long time, and so getting back into the pool, actually getting fit and active again and meeting friends is actually a really great opportunity to be fit and healthy, both physically and mentally.
Lorraine, sorry, just on that, a lot of clubs have actually said to me on many of occasions that they consider the sport the third part of it, so the physical side of it, because for them it's about not only the social aspect but the mental health as well. So there's the physical side of it, but Beyond Blue that we're working here with today, the reason that they've kind of joined forces with Team Melbourne is because of the mental health and the social side that being in a sporting or a recreational group creates.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've always played sport and I've been pretty good at a lot of sports, but I know that a lot of people in our community have had negative experiences playing sport at primary school or not playing sport, in fact, because of being excluded. So again, do you think that Team Melbourne and the various clubs have got a role in helping people overcome that that experience?
Certainly, our mission is to create an environment and to develop sport, equality in sport, regardless of sexuality. So we try and spread that message far and wide. All of our sporting clubs have associations with their parent bodies, such as Master Swimming Victoria for the Glamourheads or Rugby Union Victoria for rugby. So they're developing those relationships so they can spread the message of anti-homophobia and anti-discrimination throughout the general sporting community, and I think that really is a benefit to those young kids that are out there playing sport. Hopefully those organisations can have policies that actually attack homophobia when it exists, and therefore making the sporting field, the pool, whatever the court, a welcoming place for young people who are questioning their gender or questioning their sexuality.
Okay, and so just to wrap it up, what are some of the signature events that Team Melbourne get behind and support throughout the year?
Well, we basically support, we've got our own events obviously with the Carnival and our Sports Festival, Pride, lots of things throughout the year, but we pretty much promote every club's event. So whether it be a volleyball tournament, whether it be a Masters swim meet, whatever it may be, because we actually utilise our website and our contact list to get it out there. One of our roles is to do everything to support the club. So a club will come to us and say, we have an event on, we get behind it to do what we can. And a lot of that at the moment, the role is basically getting the information out and making sure all the clubs intertwine with each other so they get to know each other and support each other's event. But any Team Melbourne club that has an event on, Team Melbourne is behind 100%.
And also, we have 3 signature events every year. So, of course, the Sports Precinct here at Carnival. We have a sports festival that we run every year, which is a give it a go session. All the clubs run a session throughout the day. It's a wonderful, fabulous festival environment, and people who are questioning whether or not they want to participate in sport can come along to that day and then check out a club, give it a go, jump in the water with the Glamourheads, jump on a boat with the Argonauts, and see whether those sports are actually something they want to continue. It's a really good day to bit of a
especially if you don't, especially if you're not sure. That's what's great about the sports festival. You can just come and try, or you can just come and look. You don't actually have to try the sport. You can just come and watch. When I started volleyball, I didn't think I was any good, so I just stopped for 2 sessions. I just watched, and I watched the beginners court, and in the end, I thought, well, that's not that hard. I could give that a try. So I love that about the clubs, is that someone will be there to meet you and introduce themselves to you, and you can either just sit and watch or you can participate to, until you decide what you choose is best for you.
And what about some of the bigger events like the Asia Pacific Out Games or the Gay Games internationally? What role does Team Melbourne play any role in that?
Yeah, so one of the things we try and do, and we have done, is unify the Melbourne teams. So we've created our fabulous Team Melbourne logo. We've got our uniform that unifies a team, and I was at the Antwerp Out Games a couple of years ago where we launched the uniform, and we really had a strong presence with about 100 athletes there in their Team Melbourne uniform, and I think it was very eye-catching to have that happen rather than all the clubs in their own uniforms for the opening ceremony. So that's what we do. We have farewell drinks to support the athletes, welcome home drinks when they come back. We have often have receptions whilst we're over there. We've had a reception at the Ambassador's residence in Copenhagen for the Out Games. Also in Antwerp, we had a reception there with the Australian Ambassador to the Netherlands, Antwerp, and the 3 countries.
So it's actually about fashion and functions.
Yes, basically.
Fashions and functions.
Also,
I love it.
I guess one of the big roles when it comes to the Asia Pacific Out Games and the World Out Games is one of the roles Team Melbourne plays is making sure we get the information to the clubs. So not only can people get the information from Team Melbourne on website, but the clubs will have all that information, particularly about things like accommodation, where events are, things they have to be done by. And that's really important because every club will have a different role to play in their own sport, but it's really important that we get the information to the clubs and we have the information available to anyone that wants to contact.
And we also try and be a voice for queer sport, this queer sports community as well. One of the initiatives we've had the last 18 months is the One Games initiative, which is really trying to unify both bodies, Federation of Gay Games and GLISA, the Gay and Lesbian International Sports Association, to run one world event every 4 years and a regional event in between, because at the moment we have the choice between 2 international events a year apart and then pretty much nothing for 3 years, and we also have regional events between that, and it really does does divide the sporting community because people have to decide which event they'll go to because of funding, in particular for people living in Australia. So what we're trying to do is push that One Games initiative. We're hoping to get. We hope we have had some traction. We've certainly had the European Gay and Lesbian Sporting Federation sign up to it, which is fantastic. One of the other things we do is try and, as I said, be the voice for gay and lesbian sport. And so, recently the IOC changed their policies and have actually included sexual orientation as an area for non-discrimination. So we're very happy with that, and we really want to hold them to account. And when they choose candidate cities, that they choose cities that actually have fair and equal policies for gay and lesbian citizens, unlike some of the cities that are bidding at the moment, particularly Russia, who of course hosted the Games last year. It's actually quite disgraceful that they can still continue to host a Games, host a Paralympics with the laws that are being discriminatory against the gay and lesbian community in Russia. So World Cup, of course, is being held in Qatar with an awful track record for human rights abuse for gay and lesbian citizens. So we want to try and push all sport organisations to think about the gay and lesbian community, both competitors and spectators, when they choose host cities for these events.
Yeah, it's certainly really important, and not just the comments Dane made, but when we're talking about World Games and so forth, I mean, just recently Cleveland had a very poor attendance, and one of the fantastic things about World Out Games is the huge amount of people getting together. And look, we can all travel and play sport everywhere around the world, but it's all about the fantastic experience we have. So if we can get one World Out Games and get the large amount of people back involved where everyone supports it, it would be fantastic. But I'll be honest, little Team Melbourne's come up quite strong, and we're really focused on some of the really important issues for the LGBTIQ community.
Alrighty, that's a fantastic wrap up. If I'm here at Midsumma and I'm got all excited about Team Melbourne and I want to find out how I can find out about clubs, tell me how I do that.
Well, probably the best way would be through our website. That's probably the easiest way. I mean, or at events like today at Carnival, where we've had a huge amount of new clubs or new people approach us about different sports and so forth. But look, the quickest way is obviously through social media at all clubs.
Yeah, and we also have a Facebook page, a Facebook group, so members can join, but also a Facebook page people can find out more information. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, so lots of ways to find out about Team Melbourne and see whether any of our clubs can offer you something that hopefully will change your life, really.
Thank you so much, Dane and Booker.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's our episode for tonight. You've been watching Bent TV. My name is Gavin Henderson. Please join us next week.